Welcome to Jeremiah Creek. This week I had a chance to sit down with Billy Bob Thornton and J.D. Andrew of the Boxmasters to talk about their music. Not about Billy Bob Thornton's acting, but about their music. So I hope it's find it interesting. I recorded this for my WMCT radio show here in Tennessee. So that's why there's a reference to WMCT. If you'd like to listen to my radio show, you can on WMCTradio.net. And I'm on Thursday and Friday afternoons from noon to 5. And it's mostly country music, but we do a little talking, especially on Friday we do a little talk. So you can join me there, and I hope you enjoy this interview. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Billy Bob Thornton and J.D. Andrew of the Boxmasters with us today. Billy Bob is a multi-talented artist known for his acclaimed work in acting, writing, and directing, and brings a lifelong passion for music as the band's drummer and vocalist, crafting songs that blend 60s rock with vivid storytelling. J.D., a Grammy Award-winning recording engineer and the band's guitarist and vocalist, lends his technical mastery and creative energy, shaping their signature Mod Billy sound.
Energy.
Yeah, energy. Well, since the band's formation in 2007. I'll ask you about that in a second. Together, they've built a cult following with their high-energy performances and prolific output, and we're especially excited to talk about their upcoming show at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Bristol, Virginia on August 22nd. Thank you so much for joining us on WMCT Radio.
Well, thank you for having us.
I know we're going to talk about music, but I do have just a quick thing. By the way, can I call you Billy Bob and J.D. or?
Billy's good or
Billy?
Bud, either way. Most people call me Bud.
Oh, okay. The last acting thing I saw you in was a cell phone commercial where you say, "Go find the most distant place and send you a text." And I live near Copperhead Road here. I was going to go out there and send you a text, but you didn't put your cell phone on the commercial. Do you want to put your cell phone out there?
Oh, yeah, that was the only commercial I've ever done.
Yeah. One of these days I'll have to ask you why. I don't understand why you guys do commercials when you're successed. My wife was wondering if you're all right.
Oh no, I'm failing miserably right now, so I thought I'd better go get something. But no, everybody's doing commercials now.
Yeah.
It's commercials are more lucrative than a lot of things.
Touring rock and roll bands. Yes.
I would think. All right, so let me ask you a couple questions, and please, if in the question I say something that's a little wrong, I have to say I didn't really start following you guys until the last year or two. I didn't know you were doing albums and stuff until then. I started at WMCT, and so I started getting really back into music since I was a teenager. I retired. I'm a retired Chicago police officer who did some radio up there. And when I moved down here, I got a radio show, and so I started getting a lot more into music. So if any of these details are wrong, just correct me right away, will you, please?
Yeah, no sweat. No sweat.
So Bud and J.D., you founded the Boxmasters in 2007 in Bellflower, California. Can you take us back to that moment? What sparked the idea to form the band, and how did you share your shared love for 60s rock and British invasion music shape the early direction?
Well, I was making my fourth solo album, and needed an engineer to finish some stuff up because my engineer had gotten a really lucrative job with Fox Sports. And JD and I had a mutual friend, and she said, I know somebody that might be able to do this. I only had a couple of weeks left to finish on the record, and it was just me and Lee Sklar and Brad Davis and Ted Andriatis on the record, but they were all spread around, and I was sort of on my own, so I needed an engineer. JD came in, and we hit it off, and through working on that solo record of mine, we formed the Boxmasters, and our love of the British invasion, Southern California pop, Memphis music, all that kind of stuff kind of came together. We liked the sound and formed the band back then, did a couple of experimental hillbilly albums, and after that we started sounding like ourselves. And so we're a pop rock band from California. But of course, we're all from other places originally, you know.
Right. The story goes that the band's concept came about after Billy, you suggested covering Chad and Jeremy's "Yesterday's Gone" in a hillbilly style, leading to your signature Mod Billy sound. Can you share more about that creative epiphany and how it evolved into your unique sound identity?
Yeah, we were just talking about, you know, some of those people that we used to see on Ed Sullivan, you know. And I said, you know, for instance, "Yesterday's Gone." You ever heard this? This might make a good song like that. And
it's like I'd, you know, listen to a lot of British Invasion music, but I'd never heard of Chad and Jeremy. So, you know, when Billy played that for me, he was like, listen to this. This is, can't remember the exact term you used for, you know, but these British guys playing American hillbilly music, essentially. You know, it was them doing their best to play rhythm and blues, and you know, just, you know, the folk music of that we had in the early rock and roll, and they were so blown away by it. So then when we take the British Invasion and reinterpret it back to American music, you know, that was kind of the whole gist. It's like, let's you know, do this several times removed versions of basically the original rock and roll.
But we're a hard rock band. I mean, we're a, you know, pop rock band. So
yeah, well, we also love the
too.
Ramones and, you know, the other punk bands. So it's
Right.
like when we get on stage, it's like, you know, we want to put on a rock show, like a righteous rock show. And, you know, like all of our heroes did, you know, back when, you know, you could turn up an amp and have an amp on stage. And, you know, we don't play to tracks or click tracks or anything. It's like Nick, the drummer, live. Billy plays all the drums on the records, but we have a drummer that plays with us live, and his name is Nick Davidson. Nick goes 1, 2, 3, 4. We play, and you know, if we mess it up halfway through, great. You know,
I actually
blame that on Raymond, the bass player.
I was gonna. That was one of my questions later. Was about the fact that I saw that Billy plays the drums, and then but every video I've seen, he's not playing drums. So I was like a little worried I had that wrong. That was actually the reason why I made that comment about please correct me with anything, because I thought he was a drummer, but I never see him playing the drums.
There's nobody other than Levon Helm has ever looked cool singing while drumming. and you know, and then if you met Levon, he had such neck problems because he curled himself up in such a way that, I mean, how his body even like unfurled itself after that is amazing. Yeah. But he really, I mean, Levon was the greatest.
Yeah. Other than him, I can only think of two other people.
Yeah, but they didn't look cool. Don Henley and
Phil Collins.
Oh well, Phil
Collins. Neither of them looked cool singing though.
No.
Wow.
I was going to say the guy who does Sister Christian. For some reason, I can't think of the band name, but all right. But that's anyway. That's not about.
It's you know. It's just it's we need. I mean, a big part of our show is Billy's, you know, interaction and connection with the audience. Yeah. And if he's hiding behind a drum set at the back of the stage, there's no connection, you know. So we need him out there leading the people through our songs and through the stories and everything that goes along with them. So
like in the old days, I used to play drums live every now and then.
Yeah.
You know, just for a special thing or two, but not much anymore.
All right. And JD, we just heard that you were brought on initially to work on the solo album. How did that turn into you being part of the band? How did you start off just doing the?
Well, it started. I was the only one there, and you know, Billy will play guitar enough to, you know, write a song on it, but you know, he would rather let someone else play the guitar parts. And so, you know, he saw me playing guitar around the studio a little bit, just picking them up and playing a chord. I was never a I'm not a frustrated guitar player. It was just waiting for his big break. I was a recording engineer who had been in some little bands in, college and other times. And so, yeah, he said, "Hey, I got asked to do this song for a project. Why don't you learn it real quick and we'll record it tonight."
All right.
And I remember, it's like we recorded the acoustic guitar and he played the drums and sang it. And it's like, okay, well, this is cool. We have something. And it's like, and I just remember like getting excited and going, "Hey, can I try a bass part?" And he's like, "Yeah, go have at it." And then it's like, got that done. And it's like, that sounds cool. And then it's like, "Can I try an electric guitar?" It's like, yeah, do whatever you like. It's like, let's make this, as cool as we can. And, everything about it had this real primitive early rock and roll feel to it. And it's just kind of how we kind of meshed together sonically, and the things that we liked, and all those influences on us, and they were all everything that I liked, Billy liked, and then he had a far deeper knowledge of a lot of it than I did, but it was still stuff that I was excited about, and so I would listen, and then we just went, and it's like
Then we needed a lead guitar player,
Yeah.
so we got Mike Butler, and that was the original Boxmasters, the three of us.
All right. All right. So, Billy, you've been playing music since you were a teenager, doing cover bands like Hot Lana and Tres Hombres, to working the roadie, which this is fascinating to me. Working as a roadie for a Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And how did those early experiences shape your approach to music and your role in the Boxmasters?
Well, I guess because I was around the legends, the people that when I was working as a roadie and also opening for big names as a teenager. Because in the old days, they used to have local or regional acts open, for the big names who came through. And so, I was around those guys very early. And I guess I learned the business of touring so long ago that it was just kind of in my blood, really, I guess. I mean, it's and most of the people that I worked for as a roadie were people that I admired that have influenced us, like the Dirt Band or Pure Prairie League, or worked for Lighthouse out of Canada, but they were a horn band, but they were just all great. And honestly, they were really I was a kid and they were always good to me. And I worked for a sound company who would go out with the bands. I wasn't the band's personal roadie.
Okay.
I was working with a sound company. And, but it was, I got quite an education very young.
So, I mean, would it be fair to say that you were more of a musician who became an actor, or are you an actor that became a musician?
No, I was an actor when I was 7, actually.
Oh, okay.
I was a show with a clown in Little Rock. I never intended to be an actor. I never knew anything about it. So I, just like I told you on this music story here, leading all the way up to when I went to LA just to play music, I accidentally kind of got in some kind of thing, and I got a little part and made $300, and I thought, well, that's more money than I'm making anywhere else, because I was starving to death. And then next thing you know, I do a few little parts here and there, But over the years, I came to acting very late. I was older when I got into it, but it's been real good to me, and I've grown to love it over the years. So, I like both things.
All right. Well, I did see an interview where you were talking about your worst job was in a sawmill.
That's one of them.
You know what? I saw the way you were talking about it, and I was like, when I moved down to Tennessee, one of the first guys I met worked in a sawmill. I thought it was the coolest thing. I even went there with my camera, took pictures and a drone and stuff, and I remember him like 2 weeks later going, "I'm quitting that thing." He was telling me about how they were they were doing metal detector to pull out metal out of there so that somebody didn't get killed by the saw blade. I guess I didn't realize how dangerous that job was. But
Yeah, it was a dangerous job. I worked there. I worked in a machine shop, hauled hay, drove a truck, did all kinds of stuff, you know.
But also there was a joke that he would tell all the time. He's like,
no, it's this way.
which way is it? Oh.
Yeah, what is this? It's a sawmill worker ordering 5 beers.
Yeah. JD, now you mentioned earlier, we were talking about how you went from being a recording engineer, but you started off trying to become a singer-songwriter, right? And then turned into a sought-after recording engineer?
I don't know that I wrote a couple of horrible songs when I was, young. I'd play, little open mics and things here and there. But, I mean, I went to the, I did the whole Bluebird thing. I signed up on the list. I went. I didn't get to play the first week I was there, but the next time I went, I remember I broke a string on the first song. I used to sing pretty loud, and I could hear that they turned the PA off on me. So my voice wasn't going into the sound system. And, when you're standing there on stage and you can hear the PA cut off, and you're standing there, you're playing a song with a broken guitar string, your guitar is completely out of tune. And it was just like, all right, I don't need to do this again. This is, pretty awful. So I didn't play in front of anybody again for, at least 10 years. Yeah. And then, I really had no intention. And somehow, Billy saw something in me that was like, okay, this is somebody I can collaborate with. And, to this day, I don't know what he saw. It's like this guy that can barely play a guitar and but, we,
sometimes you take a lump of coal and make it die.
Exactly. So, but, thankfully, we've, when you do it every day for, 20 years, you get, proficient.
Right.
That's where I feel like I'm at this point.
He's very humble about it. That's not true. He's great.
You guys have both cited influence like the Beatles, the Byrds, and Chris Christopherson. Are there any specific moments or songs from your early musical lives that still resonate with you that inspire the Boxmasters music today?
Pretty much everything by the Beatles and the Kinks, and
yeah, I mean,
it's just that style of music. I mean, I wouldn't say any songs in particular. And when we say we're influenced by John Prine and Christopherson, we mean like lyrically, certainly not the style of music. Our style of music is more along the lines of the Kinks and the Animals and the Beatles and the Byrds and people like that. So, and also J.D.
But you could take you could take that storytelling thing that Christopherson and Prine does. I mean, that Billy does that brilliantly, and turns it, uses it inside the structure of a 2.5 minute pop song. Right. It can be done. You can tell a story and tell the whole thing from beginning to end in that amount of time if you are skilled enough. And Billy's a fucking master at that.
Yeah, I love the way
to cause a bleep in this whole recording process. But yeah, it's a lot of our songs sound super happy, like happy, and guy girl going to the malt shop kind of songs, and it's like they're poppy, they're up tempo, the sounds are happy sounding, and the lyrics are beyond dark at times. It's like you get into an unhappy place, and even when Billy is like ecstatically happy, like he is right this moment, the lyrics will come out, with at least dark humor to it. So it's I love the difference between happy sounding music and sad sounding or sad lyrics, or or unhappy or, angry or whatever.
The album Love and Hate in Desperate Places, which was last year, right? August.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Yeah.
It was described as capturing your live sound more closely than previous records, and I noticed that when I listen to the music on Spotify, and I look at the videos on YouTube on the early stuff. There was a sort of a difference, and so how did you capture that? How did you make it sound? How did you make the album sound more like your live stuff? And
well, it's easy.
It's easy. Kirk McKim.
Yeah, we have our live guitar player, Kirk McKim. He played on it. He comes more from a rock background, and Raymond Hardy on bass. And so the four of us just got in there. It's the first time we made a whole record with the whole band. Well, not the whole band, but the four of us. And we just told Kirk, hey, we're treating this a little more like a rock record. I mean, anything you do, you can. You use a different amp. Let's say we're trying to do a 60s song. We'll put a Farfisa or a Continental organ on it. If you're doing a rock song, we put the B3 organ on it. It's just like you just use different instrumentation. You just dig in more. And, when you know the styles, the different kinds of styles, then, you set out to do that when you're making the record,
Yeah, and that's how Kirk sounds. When Kirk picks up the guitar, he sounds that way. I mean, he did play on a record we did quite a while back called Tea Surfing. He played on a couple of songs on that, and he is so skilled at playing guitar that he can do anything that we ask him to do. So it's like, okay, we want you to sound, more like you're in the Ventures, or, playing more of a surf guitar sound, or, that kind of 60s, Carl Wilson kind of thing. It's like, so he can do that. But when he plays as Kirk McKim, he has a very identifiable signature sound. And so when we did that record, we were like, okay, we're making a rock record. We've got songs that we've had for, over 10 years, some of them, almost 15 years old at that point. And we just went into it. It's like, okay, this is the rock record. Kirk, play how you play. Raymond, play how you play. And that's it. We're gonna make this sound how we do live. My nose is running off my face.
And all right, so the latest album, Pepper Tree Hill. I was gonna say what's the inspiration behind the album, but what I really want to know is the title track. You got Herb Albert playing on it. How did that come together?
Well, I've just known Herb for a while, and he was the guy who, originally he founded A&M Records, which A&M Studios is where the Boxmasters recorded for a long time, even though he didn't own it anymore. I was connected to him through that, and the first way I met Herb Alpert was because he signed an album for me, and but I loved him as a kid, and so JD and I got to know him, and we go see his shows, when he's going to be around. He's still touring. He's 90, and
and killing it. I mean, I see him on online, and they're, Herb's playing sold out nights, and they're playing almost as much as we do. He's playing like every night of the week, and it's amazing. And
so we got him to play trumpet on Pepper Tree Hill. He's played on a couple of other songs of ours too, but those are not out yet. So that's not the only ones he's played on. But that song, Pepper Tree Hill, is kind of like what you might say is our, little attempt at the Beatles' Penny Lane. It's sort of a, just talking about your surroundings and how it makes you feel. The song's really about how the property and the studio are a muse for us, and it's a very creative place. It's got a vibe to it, and that's really what the song's about. And and when the Beatles did Penny Lane, it was just their remembrances of an area that was magical to them as kids.
All right. And all right, I'm trying to stay within the time limits they said. So let me get to the current tour here. You're currently on the Pepper Tree Hill tour, which kicked off in Myrtle Beach and will wrap up in Los Angeles in October. What's been the highlight of the tour so far, and how has the audience response been to your new material?
Well, actually, we're in Clearwater, Florida tonight. Tonight is the first show in Clearwater, Florida, and then tomorrow we're in Miami opening for The Who. And then on the 19th, a few days later, we're opening for The Who again in Newark, New Jersey. And then we come back down to Myrtle Beach. And then after Myrtle Beach, we're just kind of all the way across the country, including Bristol, Virginia. So we hope people will come out there and see us. We played Bristol before, years back.
I'm planning on going. I love the Bristol casino. The new, I don't know. Okay, I don't know if they built the casino's been rebuilt. I don't know if the stage has been rebuilt because I was never in the old stage, so It might be a little different than when you played it before.
I don't know. We played a different place.
We played somewhere downtown last time, I believe.
It was a theater we played downtown.
Oh, Paramount, the Paramount Theater.
Probably,
yeah, that's right. That sounds.
I love that place. I wish more acts would come there. I love the Paramount Theater. I saw Tab Benoit.
We loved it
last year.
We loved it. It was a great place. And we loved the people there in Bristol too. They're really cool.
Yeah, that's State Street too. One side is the Paramount's on Tennessee side, and then the across the street is Virginia. You can't carry your gun across the street.
I've got lots of pictures of standing there where looking at the signs that go across the street there. But we did a thing at one of the museums, the Bluegrass Museum or
the History of Country Music Museum. There is a Bluegrass Museum too. But
that's the History of Country Music Museum. When we went in there and we did an interview in there and got to see the place.
That was cool.
See the old gear that they recorded those early, basically the first records ever made. And it's great. We love coming to Bristol.
And you've played like iconic venues like the Cavern Club and the Grand Ole Opry. How does performing at a place like the Hard Rock compare, and what do you love about connecting with the audiences in these settings?
Let me tell you real quick the difference between the Cavern Club and anywhere else, other than you feel the ghosts, you feel the history of the Cavern Club, but the thing they don't tell you before you play there is that it's about 6 stories underground, and it's kind of the weirdest thing because you're going into a cave underground I'm talking about the Cavern Club
in
Liverpool.
It's only one level.
It's 70 floors underground, and it feels like, and the air is very, very old, and it's been there probably since the 60s.
Definitely old.
It's you understand how the Beatles started there because it's but as a band that plays places like the Bristol where they have showers and a dressing room and stuff like that, it's quite a bit different. I was beside myself that I was even there, in the same place where they played, but it's not where you want to play every day. Yeah. It's good for a special occasion.
But in answer to your question about relating to the audience, we feed off the audience. So our shows depend on the people. If the people are there to see us and they're ready, we're going to have a better show. And we put on the same show for everybody. If there's 300 people there or 50,000, it doesn't matter to us.
Although let me ask you, when you open for the Who, Obviously, there's going to be a bigger audience, and because it's a smaller venue at the Bristol. So do you want to see the audience more personal when you're in a smaller venue? I mean,
Yeah, it's much more personal when you're in a smaller venue. Yeah, and you can actually see the people and interact with them. I mean, the big shows, they're great. They're exciting and everything, but they're just. I mean, you only see about the first 12 rows of people. And beyond that, you don't really. It's a giant stage in a giant stadium, and you just have to treat it like any show and just play for yourselves. And if we're good and we do our job, we can't help how the audience is. If we, when we're opening for the Who, if we get off of there and we do decently and they accept us in a decent way, that's a success for us. We don't have to blow the roof off the place, but it's obviously thrilling when you open for people like this. This is a band that we revered when we were kids and influenced us. And so we feel blessed every day of our lives, when we're on stage, when we're making a record, because, like I said, when you grow in blood, that's all you want to keep doing, and hopefully we'll be doing this when we're 90, only we might not get on stage.
You might be able to do it at 90. But
that's a nice segue into
barely get up already.
You may not be able to do it tonight.
If my allergies don't get any better, I don't know if I can. I'm just going to be up there just spewing mucus on the crowd.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
That's going to drive the crowd down here.
Yeah, come see us. Get a sinus infection.
Yeah. That's a nice segue into the next question. So you've been together nearly 18 years. What keeps you going, and what do you hope your music brings to fans in 2025 and beyond, or now beyond?
Hopefully education for one thing, because we're playing original music that's based on historical music, and hopefully, we get new fans that will lead them to start listening to the bands of 60s, 70s, and that just for the other people who love that and grew up in it, we just hope it reminds them of the records that they love to listen to. And then we got a lot of fans. We got a great cult following, so a lot of them are always there anyway. So
and if we had the same little core group of fans that we played to in the beginning, that'd be great. But the amazing thing is, as we've we're getting close to 20 years. If there wasn't the progression of people finding out about us, and I'm very proud of the fact that it's all organic. It's like we're not out there doing bot farms and hiring people to do stuff for us for social media or doing stunts or things. We have a booking agent who books our shows and books our tours, and then we do everything else. We do our own social media, we do our merch, we basically are our own managers, and we have to do that for the business reasons. Otherwise, you're just running all your money out the door.
Right.
But we keep having little cool successes that kind of keep giving us energy to keep going. And besides the fact, we could record music every day and have it never come out, and we'd be totally satisfied with that, as long as we were creating and making music that was important to us. That would be totally great. But the fact that we can come out and play this, and we are playing to bigger crowds than we played last year, and we played a bigger crowds than we played 2 years ago, and to have that kind of organic rise. It's like I said a few weeks ago that it's like, at 20 years, it's like, has there ever been a band that broke after 20 years? It's like that's not really a thing. But at times, we have these little wins, like we get to open for the fucking Who. I get shivers going up my neck that we're going to do that, you know? And it's like, I don't know how it happened. You know, I mean, I know our agent basically made it happen, but
I know how.
You know, it wasn't you calling Roger and saying, "Hey, can we please open a show?" Yeah, that wasn't it. They didn't even know. They didn't even know until we were booked that we were doing these shows with them. Yeah. And so, I mean,
there's a guy
are very fortunate.
A promoter who was a huge fan of ours, and he said, "You guys are the perfect band to open for the Who." That's how it happened. Yeah.
So, but it's so exciting.
You know, you mentioned something that I've heard all kinds of musicians say about how you would play the music if you could. You would just play the music even if nobody was listening. I watched that Bob Dylan documentary, and I remember a phrase. I can't remember if it was him or somebody else says, you know, they want to make enough money to eat, but as long as you can keep playing music and make enough money to eat, that's all they cared about. And then of course, you know, you get famous, but the point was to play the music, and if you could do that, even if it was barely a living.
Yeah, and I mean, just personally, it's like, you know, any money that we do make on the road, I turn around and use that to buy things that'll help inspire songs, you know, or make a sound that it's like, okay, this is a different sound that we don't have, you know, this is a new thing. It's like, you know, we just, you just get money just to be able to make more songs.
Yeah. The money we make on the road, we put it back into the band.
Yeah. All right. So before we let you go, can you tell your listeners where they can catch the Boxmasters on tour, buy your albums, or stay updated?
That's right. Everything Boxmasters is at www.theboxmasters.com.
And it's the Boxmasters.
The Boxmasters, yes, correct. It's it's a band that sounded like a band from the '60s, so we like the name.
That was Billy Bob Thornton and J.D. Andrew of the Boxmasters sharing incredible stories about their musical journey and their latest albums and their exciting 2025 Pepper Tree Hill tour. A huge thank you to you both for joining us on WMCT Radio and giving us a glimpse into your world. To all of our listeners, be sure to check out Love and Hate in Desperate Places and Pepper Tree Hill, and don't miss the Boxmasters Live, especially at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Bristol, Virginia on August 22nd, 2025. And you can, again, visit theboxmasters.com for tour dates, tickets, and more.